What's up, folks? Today we're going to connect the main board, the wing PCBs, and the LED pattern board together. Let's get started. Alright folks, it's been a while, and I've gotten quite a few messages from people asking when the last couple of tutorials will be up, and so I haven't decided how I'm going to do this yet because some of the assembly parts are going to be very short, so I'm considering doing two rather long videos of just short segments of the final assembly of the PKE. So for today though, I think this will be one of the last kind of full-length tutorials of just one subject. The rest will be small segments of assembly. So today you need your PCB main board that you've probably already assembled. You'll need your wing parts that you've assembled, hopefully. And then you need your LED pattern board that you have hopefully assembled as well. Now, hopefully before you assemble this, you've tested all the LEDs. I've tested all of these. I know they work. Remember that sometimes when you are soldering these, if you have your soldering iron on them too long, it will burn out the LEDs. It took me 3 attempts to get all of these on without burning one out. Not because I left the soldering iron on there for very long, but it seems like it just took maybe a second and they melted. So be very careful doing that with the green LEDs. The LEDs on the wings are not as temperamental, so you shouldn't have a problem with those. I think the first thing that we'll talk about here is the pattern board. Again, I used different colored wires for each number down here. You want to make sure that you keep those correct, or keep them lined up with the number that you're putting them or lining them up with on the main board. And then you have these 2 ground wires that come off the side. Now the ground wires, they connect inside the top board, and one goes here and one goes on the other side there. You can do that a couple different ways. If you want to connect them directly in there, you can. So, just basically just like that. Or you can use small header pins if you want to do that. What I will probably do is I'm going to use header pins to connect this particular board, and I'll explain why. When the pattern board is in the PKE, it basically sits in there just like this. Sits in there on the inside just like that. These wires have to actually go around like this, and then like that to the main board. So they have to kind of, let's see, yeah, kind of like that. The other part, they'll basically sit in there like that. If the main board were in this side, they would sit in there just like that. Now, I like the ability to disconnect these 2 halves. If I have to do maintenance on it, to fix something, you don't want the other half just kind of connected to the other side without being able to disconnect it. If you did it that way, which is fine if you want to do it that way, but if you do it that way, then you need to open it like this and not like a book like that. So these wires you want to make sure you don't put a lot of stress on, and usually what I do when I connect them is I'll wrap them around, kind of twist them around like this, and I'll put a cable tie or some tape on that just to keep them bundled up. And then on the inside of the PKE, right up here at the top, I'll put some hot glue there to keep that wire out of the way of the servo that's on the inside and all the other parts, just to kind of make it just a little bit neater on the inside. And then these ground wires, they just kind of go around here to the top board. And those you can trim to be a little bit shorter if you want. I leave these just a little bit longer so that I have more wire to work with, and so that if I do open it, you know, the halves aren't sitting too close together. So whenever I send these kits out, I send these 90-degree header pins, and some people probably wonder why I send those. It's completely optional to do it this way, but what I normally do on the main board is I put these header pins right there on the top. That's so that when it's sitting inside the shell, you can see that the header pins are right there. Now I don't send this connector because this is a completely optional part. You don't have to do it this way, but this is a DuPont connector. Now you can if you really want to. Now I hate doing crimping and all that, but if you really wanted to, you could put a DuPont connector directly on that. Now I've got several that I've done that way. I don't particularly care for doing it that way, so I use these little DuPont connectors that have the pins on them, and then I just solder the pins to the wires. So when I do want to take these, disconnect these two, I'll show you with the header pins. So this would be connected to the main board, and I can just disconnect these two parts and disconnect the shells and have two halves that I can work on independently. Makes it a lot easier to work on, and if you needed to clean it or take the main board out or replace a part or something, you just have a little bit more room to work. So having said that, I think the first thing that I'll do is I'm going to solder the header pins in the main board. Alright, so I'll need my helping hands, and I'll need my soldering iron. Move these out of the way. Let's see. Yeah, I actually need to do that. When you get this soldered in to the main board, you may find that you need to bend those pins up just a little bit just to make more room, but they should fit in there. This particular PKE model, I've weathered it and painted it a little bit. This is one of the earlier MSH Design Studio models. He's since done it, made some more models, made a newer one that is a lot closer to the Iona. Actually, it's pretty dead on, and you can see the difference between these two. This one has a lot sharper tip, and the Iona is actually more rounded. Pretty soon he'll be coming out with a model, 3D model kit that you can print that will go inside of an Iona. And then you can outfit it with electronics. You can use my kit on the inside if you want. But you see there's not much in there. So his models will provide a place for the servo, and it'll provide a place for the wings to attach to. It'll be pretty cool. Yeah, so up at the top right here now, the newer models, it's actually a little bit less sharp, but you still should have enough room to put this header pin area in the this top part of the PKE. All right, so and again, this is 0.3 millimeter solder. You don't want to use something real heavy, real thick for most of this project. I don't think I've used anything other than this the entire time. Okay, should be good to go. Alright, so the main board has the header pins on there now. And we'll just test this out, make sure we can, yep. So that part will be, do a test fit in here. You can see how that will sit in there. Then the main pattern board LED wires will connect to this. So, what do we want to do next? All right. Make sure you wind the wire on this a little bit. You don't want any stray wires at all on the ends of these, so you may also need to clip them a little bit. But the prototype PKE that I carry when I'm doing events with Ghostbusters Virginia, that PKE has a stray wire on the bottom of the main board, over here somewhere. And whenever the light cycles, sometimes it resets because it shorts out. And I've tried to fix it a couple of times, but I keep missing it because I didn't trim any of the wires in the bottom of it. I guess I was just in a hurry. But now I regret that. So I will not make that mistake this time. But it still works pretty well most of the time. All right, you want to make sure that you separate all of these wires, and they're going to be, so this is the back of the pattern board. They're going to actually go in this direction. And originally I wanted to make these pads, soldering pads up here, but you can see there's just not enough room because of the LED patterns, so they're all at the bottom. So leave yourself enough wire so that you can go up over the top, and then you're gonna kind of do an L-shaped pattern like that, and this will connect inside the inside the other shell to the main board. And they're numbered, so make sure you go by the numbers: 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, and so on till you get to the last one, 7. So we will. This gets a little bit tedious, but we know that I always, I think I've mentioned this on other videos, I usually try to start, if I've got a bunch of colored wires, I usually use red for the first one. Let's trim this wire just a little bit. Okay. Just about grabbed the green one. That would have been bad. And I'll trim that one a little bit too. All right. Make sure you don't leave a soldering iron on the DuPont connector too long, because you will melt it. Oh yeah. Forgot on the main board I left an extra pin for a ground. So we'll have an extra pin on this DuPont connector that won't connect to anything. Okay. So we have all of these connected. The first time that I did this, I used a, this is like the second prototype that I did. I used a ribbon cable like this. You can see how stiff that is. It's not really ideal for using anywhere in the PKE because just the wire is just way too stiff. So after that, I switched over to using the silicone wire, and you can see the header pins right in there. So that's been something that the header pins is something I've been doing since the very first one of these that I put together. But, so the main board will sit down. Well, I'll show you right here actually. First, let's connect these. Put that in there. So the main board sits in there like this. This will be in the top part. And you can see, you know, how much wire you might need. If there's too much, it can get caught on the servo, but you should be fine here. If you have already soldered it and everything, you can just bundle it up, twist it a little bit, and then put a cable tie on it or some tape. And then, like I mentioned, I always put a little bit of hot glue in there, right in there, to keep those wires out of the way. All right, so that is connected. Next we can, now this will be, there's two ways you can do this. You can connect header pins to these two pads here so that you can completely disconnect this, but there's really no reason to need to do that. So we're actually going to put this in permanently, meaning there's not going to be a way to disconnect it. So really all you need to do is make sure that your ground wires are running to the correct place. On the pattern board, they're labeled ground A and then ground B. It's very, very tiny. So just make sure ground A runs to the ground A pad, and then the ground B runs to the ground B pad. This over here. Let's see. Trim that just a little bit. Okay. Trim this one a little bit. There you go. Okay, so we've got the pattern board soldered in. It'll look just like this. We haven't glued the pattern board in. There's really no need to glue it in quite yet. You could if you wanted to. But I think that's it for the pattern board. It's pretty much installed now. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the LED wires to the main board. Now for this, you don't want these wires to be very long. You want enough so that these are going to be opening and closing like this inside the model. So what I usually do is I will twist these around a little bit and curl them up kind of like this, so that they sit right under the wings. That alleviates a little stress off of the actual connectors. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the installation part, or actually installing the wings in. For now, though, you want to make sure that this is very important. You want to make sure that you can separate your wires so that you know what colors are which. And if you did it right, then the wire should match on both of these. So, you know, I've got 1 as a red, 3 is yellow. You can see the numbers down the side. 1, 3, 5, 7. So 1, 3, and 5, 7, they match on both of these. So it's a pretty good bet that they're all right. Now on the main board, you've got you've got your numbers right here going LED 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a ground. I have a place here for header pins if you wanted to use those. The problem is with that is that it sits really, really close to the wing, because these are, there's only about that much space between the wing and where the wing is and where the main board is. Now I originally had that set up so that you could put header pins there if you wanted to, but I couldn't get them to fit in that area well enough to feel comfortable leaving them without thinking one of the wires is going to get snagged on it or something. And it's just not much room for a full header and DuPont connector. So I'm just going to solder the wires directly into that part. So we'll need our helping hands here. Doesn't matter which one you do first. Only matters that you do it the right way. You do want to make sure that you you put these in the right way. This is obviously the right one. This is the left one. And so you want to install these like you're looking down on the PKE, because this will go into the bottom of it. Whichever one you start with, just make sure that the PCB for the wing is facing up. I guess it really doesn't matter. You could do it. You could do it this way, but you still need to make sure that your numbers line up. So, but I usually do it this way so I can see the numbers as I'm installing, which makes a lot of sense. All right. All right, so we know the red is number 1. I'll twist these. And you can use either one of the soldering pads there. They're connected together, so whichever one you want to use. Okay. So brown is number 2, so get brown here. Okay, and yellow is number 3. 4 is green. Well, can't seem to get it there. Okay. Let's see. 5 is this blue color. Okay. 6 is gray. Okay. 2 more to go. We have white, and then we have the ground, which is black. Always use black for the ground. You want to make sure you trim these so that the wire doesn't stick out the back. We'll check it after we're done with this, but once you get all this together, it's really hard to track down shorts, so you want to make sure that you don't have any stray wires anywhere. Okay. And then the last wire. pick tool to just put some pressure on the wire so it stays in the pad. Okay. And there we go. Got our first wing assembled and joined. Now on the back here, you might not be able to tell, but there are a couple of wires sticking up there, so we want to trim those. It's right in there. And not a bad idea to put just a little extra solder on some of these in the back. Okay. All right. It looks pretty good. So now we got one more to do. Now that we have that one, if you did your the same colors on the other side, then you could just really go by the colors on the one you just did. So we know the red's first.
Just realized that I used two different shades of wire. The one after the red, this wing is using orange. The other one is using brown. Pretty close, but they're actually different. So I had to make sure that they were actually the right LED, and they were, thankfully. But it always helps to check it out and make sure.
Okay. we've got your wings connected. You do want to make sure that you've got all the stray wires trimmed off. Otherwise, you will get shorts. These are such small, thin wires that can sometimes be very hard to see, but definitely need to
Carefully check those.
Okay, so we've got the wings connected. We've got the pattern board connected in your top shell. So this is going to connect like this. Drop this into your bottom shell. There are, if you purchase my kit, I have a realize that cable will stick right there. If you purchase my kit, though, I send a brass rod. Those rods connect into the shell right here and right here, and then these slip on over it. There's a hole right there in the wing. Those slip over it right there. So what I said earlier, I usually twist these a little bit. Get the cable to kind of sit like that inside the PKE, and so the opening and closing doesn't really get, it doesn't snag that wire while these are opening and closing. Yeah, I think that's it for this video then. So I've been working on a couple of other things. I don't know if you've seen my ecto containment unit video, but I finished the first prototype PCB of that, and I'll show that off soon, but it's gonna basically have smoker vents that open on the side or on the top, I guess, either way you want to, anywhere you want to put it really. And I'm going to be doing some plans on making a portable one in case you want to build a smaller one for like a Comic-Con or something. You can have it sitting on your table, or you can install this in a full-size unit. It's 12-volt powered, and I use a big talent cell that's got power out on it, and then it's got a USB outlet on it as well, and I use that to power the speakers. But it's going to be pretty neat when it's done. Ghostbusters Virginia will probably use it quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'll be doing a couple of other videos for the PKE and then a final assembly video. Hopefully we'll start on those videos next week so I can get the PKE all wrapped up. But as always, if you have any other questions, let me know. Feel free to comment in the comment section. This is Jason Glisson for Pixel Prop Store. I'll see you later.